The Profit Constructors presents a 9.5-part guide to the basic data and reporting in Knowify. Part 8, Internal Tracking.
All right, today we're going to be talking about internal tracking and what we can know about that in Knowify. So one of the, I think, more unknown areas of Knowify and kind of how to use and when to use and how it can kind of be populated is sort of the internal tracking. And we're going to talk a little bit about how some of our clients use it and ways that it can be utilized to track some things that are for internal purposes only. So let's just dive right in. Again, if you don't have the newer, more upgraded version of Knowify, this will be on your left-hand menu. But when we click on that internal projects area, this looks a lot like our contract jobs area in that it's going to show us sort of like this cost section, but we don't see anything about revenue and we don't see anything about profit. And that's because these are things that we're really just tracking for internal purposes. And there's a few different ways that our clients tend to use this area and that can be incredibly helpful. One way that we and our clients like to use this area is for any type of tracking that needs to be done for overhead type purchases. And there are a few ways you can go about doing that. And the things we can know about that are what types of internal purchases have we done. So if we want to, let's say, for instance, you want to only ever have your accounting person go in and enter bills and receipts and things in Knowify. And then you'll have an external outsourced accountant, something like we perform services for the Profit Constructors, handling everything that is pushing back into QuickBooks. So you might want to have that data entry person or accounting person in the office only entering into Knowify and not having to flip back and forth between two different softwares. So one of the first things that you can know is that you can enter overhead items and have them just show up here in Knowify and then still push back into QuickBooks Online. You do have the ability to also do that for your laborers. So again, if we want them to be able to enter all of their time and show all of their time as in Knowify and not have to switch back and forth between two different softwares, well, perhaps we need to set up an internal project such as we see here called paid time off. And what's going to happen there is when folks turn their time in, I'm just going to go ahead and click into that paid time off report, click activity. And what we can see here is that there were 8 hours that were submitted for me that are now counting towards this internal project called paid time off. And if we drill down even just a little bit further, we'll get some more information. Here's more information to know, which is this was turned in against the paid time off phase in that paid time off project. And I marked it as vacation. So there's a multitude of things that we could know. We could set up separate phases. So you could set up a vacation phase. You could set up a PTO phase. You could set up sick time phase, paid sick time phase, holiday phase. So anything that we would want to track time against that's not an external project, we could set that up in an internal project. That way, anyone who needs to turn in their time is always able to select something from the dropdown, and they have the ability to turn in every bit of their time, whether that's paid time off, meetings time, travel time. If any of that needs to be tracked towards an internal tracking area, then we can give them the ability to do that right in Knowify. I'm going to go ahead and go right back out to that internal projects thing. One other thing that we might want to track is, let's say that we have an actual internal project that needs to happen. Let's say that we want to remodel our own office. So obviously we're not gonna be able to bill any client for this, but we can handle that internal project in exactly the same way that we might want to handle an external project from a cost standpoint. So we can see what that internal project costs us. So in this case, if we're remodeling the kitchen, we may want to break that down by some of the same phase types that we could break down any other project. And so we could say not plumbing, we could say plumbing. We could say electrical. We could break this down. Electrical. I can't type and talk at the same time. That's becoming very obvious. Or we can break this down by all of those types of phases that we may break down any other of our external project. And then we can really budget and track against this project just like we would another. Now you can see, hopefully, the power of this, that we're able to even hire subs, schedule them, like all of the things that we would want to do on any external project. We could go ahead and have our folks come and do for us on these internal projects. And so from the outside, as a sub looking in, it would look just exactly as if it was a project that is on our normal contracts page. But now then we have the ability to just track it internally and still track against budgets versus actuals the same way that we would any other job. So, if we can see that we created that subcontractor PO. And so we can just begin to start to see what we've spent for material, any internal labor that might be tracked against this project. And subcontractors. So we can look back on this now and have the same type of data and analyzation and information that we would on a contract job. So what is there to know? Well, let's take a look at this internal projects page now. We can know how much money we're spending on overhead for any given time frame if we go and pull reports for that. We can know what types of things we're spending money on. So if you want to break it down even as very specifically as how much are we spending on small tools, you could have a whole internal project just for small tools. If you do want to track any sort, Jennifer, you can edit that. If you do want to track any sort of internal project that you really are having a project done, like your office kitchen remodel, we can see the same data and information that we could see on our external projects page in terms of budgeted versus actual costs. And we can know when folks are turning in time for vacation, for sick time, for holiday time, and we can track what we're spending on those things as well, because we could, when they turn their time in, it'll be costed just as if it was labor costed out in the field. And we can begin to see what that type of paid time off is costing us as well. So a lot of really good things to know here in this internal projects area of Knowify, a pretty powerful tool that you can use to gather a lot of good data and information about what's happening on the back end of your construction company. Knowify is not just about external projects. We can track internal projects as well in some really powerful ways. Okay, next time when we come back, we're going to talk about the QuickBooks Online Sync, where to find the right data, and how to know that QuickBooks Online Sync is working properly. Come back for that.